first of all, let's start off by saying I regard a lot of the stuff that you've done, and particularly in the early 80s, as being pretty close to my favourite electronic pop music. I'd say definitely top 3 of the bands that yeah. I mean, I'm not even blowing smoke up your ass or anything. Moscow Disco is a work of stone cold genius as far as I'm concerned. And of course, this morning I was going through your old videos and looking at all the stuff, and I mean, they are great pieces of production and songwriting, most of it, I would say. I am in awe of your talent, so I wanted to get that out of the way before we start. Oh, that's it. End of the show. End of the show.
You should close this song.
Well,
I don't think we have the same melodic sound skill you had in your groups, but sometimes Telex was more like an idea than music. Well, okay, he's done his here again.
I mean, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
There's a lot of wind, and there's something who is going to fall in the street, so I to manage that, but it's okay.
I was going to make a joke of you having a lot of wind, but I think that's probably not appropriate. Okay, so how? First of all, I'm going to ask you, how did you get into electronic music right from the outset?
So Dan is going to answer.
Yeah, well,
there's the first one.
As I was working in a studio since in the early 70s. By the way, I'm 70 this month, 19th of May.
Well, no, hold on. Oh, when's your birthday? 19th
of May, like you.
That's my birthday. How did you know that?
Well, I just saw that on your biography. So
how amazing!
And so, as soon as I heard about synthesizers, so it was the really early 70s, I was interested because I knew this new instrument was capable of making new sounds, and I really was fascinated. So I managed to buy one of the first ones, and it's an English one. It's a VCS3, a little, this little...
Yeah.
I went to see it in London, to be sure, and I think I met even Peter Zinoviev there. And so, because I was hesitating between the VCS3 and there was the AKS, but I found the VCS3 was a bit more professionally built or something, so I bought the VCS3 then. And I was happy. I was lucky because when I received it, there were big hits with Popcorn, mainly.
Yes.
So everybody heard this new instrument, and they wanted to have a bit of it in their production. So I said, I have an instrument. I can make you electronic sounds if you want. And my boss arranged a kind of demonstration in the studio where I was working, Studio Madeleine. And so I start working as a freelance synthesizer programmer with my equipment. And at the same moment, I had a producer who, by the way, was also the same producer who produced Telex a few years after, Ronald Kluger. He told me, well, why don't you make your version of Popcorn, but also an album, because there is no album of this style of music right now. And so I made my first album that I called Electronic System. I called the artist Electronic System. And I was one track too short in the album because I used some of my composition, but also backing tracks of cover version, whatever. And so I had a song, a very simple song that I quickly did like this, and I called it Coconut, because Popcorn, coconut. And this became the hit of the album. And so with the royalties and the copyrights, I could invest the same year, I could invest in a big modular. I wanted to be a step further. So I ordered a modular Moog, and so I had the equipment to make sessions with synth. I was the guy you call if you want electronic sounds in Belgium on your production, but by coincidence like this. So, and of course, I continue to invest in the Polymoog when it came out, the first polyphonic. I wanted to have the possibility of making electronic vocals, so I bought the first Sennheiser vocoder.
Wow.
It's serial number 23, so it was one of the very first one. But there were not a lot built, by the way. And so in 77, 78, when we decide to make a make a demo for a so-called electronic group, Marc, Michel, and myself, everything was ready. I had everything ready to work. So that's how we could start very. In one day, we did the first title we did was Twist à Saint-Tropez.
Ah,
yeah, and it was done in one day, really very quickly. We just discovered the sounds and how do we do like this. I only had 8 tracks at the time, so we had to stay very minimalistic, but this was the idea anyway. And so we made the song. We did a rough mix on the cassette, and the next day I think the next day we had a contract. So
wow.
very, very
So this is quite unusual that things work out.
yeah. So I said, wait, we have to remix it properly. It's only a rough mix. And we have to make a B-side too, because so then we made a second session for the B-side, and it was our first single of Telex. Voilà.
Wow. Michel, that's a great story. Michel, what's your memories of that period?
My memory is that I knew Mark, and Mark was a jazz player, a very good keyboardist. He was playing jazz. Maybe you know Placebo, which was his group. It's not Placebo now, but at that time it was
Not
jazz,
the same, but
progressive jazz. And we were in a musician association, and so that's how we met. And I was playing in a group that was more like rock, folk, jazz. So Mark was always ahead with ideas, sort of making a group of electronic music, knowing Dan also. So his idea was to make a continental group with no relation with rock or blues, and that's the idea. So at the beginning, my first demos after Twist à Saint-Tropez, because we had to make an album, my first demos were made with a guitar. So Dan is the wizard. Afterwards, we
I won't talk to you anymore then, that's it.
no. If you need really technical things, ask Dan.
Okay. So right. So when I was starting with the Human League, there was always a special relationship with Belgium about electronic music. It was always a very forward-looking country. In fact, it was the first country that showed massive interest in what we were doing with, and right about the time actually, Les Disques Crépuscule came out, and signed up Cabaret Voltaire, who were friends of ours. And when we went to Belgium for the first time to perform in 78, I think it was, I mean, it was like we were big stars, and I'm going, well, nobody really treats us like this in the UK. And I've always regarded Belgium as being a bit ahead of the curve in terms of electronic music. How do you feel about that as an opinion?
Belgium has been the center of Europe.
different countries.
This means everybody came through us, Romans, Germans, French, Spanish, Hollanders. So we are quite open, I would say.
Yes.
And we are maybe the less proud people in the world. So we are very open to things, and
We have the opposite problem in the UK.
I know French too, probably.
Yeah.
So we were quite open to things.
Yeah. And I think, I saw. When I was doing research for this, I saw an interview. I can't remember which one of the three of you it was, but saying that there was an element of surrealism in what you were doing as well, and also, obviously, there's a lot of not only surrealism, but which electronic music lends itself to, I think, by the way. But there's a lot of very dry wit and humour involved in it, which I loved. And actually, there was a lot of that with Kraftwerk as well. Really, obviously, an influence for both of us. But what do you think about the dry wit aspect of the Belgian kind of?
Probably coming from the same reason I told you before, that everybody came on us. So either you make suicide, or you have some kind of humor to navigate,
Yeah.
So I think that's it. And surrealism, yes, we were surrounded by that, and also cartoons like that and things like that. So it's really a part of our culture.
Excellent. And Dan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I was thinking that we always were fascinated, I mean, myself personally, by England and English music. Maybe since the Beatles, I don't know, and also the groups that followed. I remember I bought all the big groups. I bought the albums of the English groups, and at the opposite of French music was a bit considered like ringard, maybe because they in the 60s they did a lot of copies of translation of American hits by thinking that people would not discover the original version that were, of course, much better. And this style was called ye, Yeah, because they didn't translate, For example, if they would translate "She loves you, yeah," they should say "Elle t'aime, oui, oui, oui," but they would say "Elle t'aime, yeah."
Oh, I see.
So England was really like every new group was really well appreciated in Belgium, and that's why I understand. I think this interest for the English group was so big, from Belgium. We have this culture, both culture, like the French and the English one, and it's especially in Brussels. We are in the middle, so we have the influence of both. But I think most of the people would choose go to the English groups than the. And there was nothing interesting happening in France, I would say. I wouldn't say anything.
Johnny Halliday, come on.
Yeah, but maybe it's one of the only ones, because he was really French,
Yeah, it was really French.
About electronic music, I will not mention, but there was nothing very interesting coming from France.
Still Daft Punk. Daft Punk were French.
Yeah, Daft Punk was after, but in those times.
At that time, after a while, there was Jack No, which was...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's true. There was some little...
Very simple.
Stuff,
Yes,
but not as much as in England, when you had all those big groups and also the English studios where this English sound, Abbey Road, all this was like, much more exciting.
Yeah.
Than what's coming from France.
I was lucky enough to obviously record in most of the big studios in London, including Abbey Road. and it was an astonishing place. I mean, they built their own mixing desks, for God's sake.
Yes, I know.
Their own electronics, everything. They used to have EQ that were tuned to particular frequencies.
Yes.
I mean, musical notes.
Yes.
That's
exactly.
like, and
That's a big difference. I know because I did a mastering in the 90s for a Belgian group, Ozark Henry. I don't know if you know, but
no.
we did the mastering and the vinyl cutting at Abbey Road, and I was amazed about the EQ because I could see, like you say, the frequency was not 50 hertz, but 52.6 or something.
Yeah.
Because it was tuned to a specific note, which is so clever, by the way. And it sounded so natural, so musical.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
The just on a side point, the second ever production that I did outside the Human League was a Belgian group called Ale Ale.
Uh-huh. Oh yes.
You know,
we know
they were quite good actually. And in fact, the lead singer, Sarah, went on to marry Glenn from Heaven 17. Their marriage didn't last, unfortunately, but we're still friends now anyway. Okay, so I've written some words down here about what I think about your compositions. Witty and sexy. Because it's kind of naughty, you know, and mischievous, a lot of the stuff that you're writing. And, it's kind of, on one level, it's quite male. I mean, the kind of regularity of it. But there's a lot of sexy, funky, movable, danceable stuff going on underneath that, which was not usual, except probably outside Georgia Moroder or, I mean, it wasn't the normal thing to have kind of syncopation as much as you guys had incorporated into your stuff. So, and the other thing is, it's highly musically sophisticated, as far as I'm concerned. And that must be, I presume, from the jazz influence coming through. But you made no big deal out of it, because on the surface, they sound like very chic, kind of slightly facetious kind of pop songs. But actually, under the bonnet, there's a lot of clever stuff going on there. And what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's right. Well, I'm pleased to hear that.
Yes.
But because many people thought it was dumb, that it was too simple, that it was cold, that it was
no
stupid. So I think maybe sometimes it might have been too clever for a wide audience. But yes, it was the fun for us to have a first degree and second degree, and the music is, as you said, funky and groovy, because jazz, Mark has a jazz background, and he played a lot of things himself, and that was the thing that made the music groove, I think.
Yeah.
It's not only machines.
No, especially in the beginning, when I transferred the tapes to Pro Tools, when I digitalized, I could hear everything, and then I really realized how good Mark was with the timing. He was so groovy because we only could program the drum sounds in the very beginning. We even didn't have a real sequencer. Well, maybe we could do 8 notes or something. Then I had something more sophisticated after. But so we had to play a lot of things. Also the polyphonic keyboard. So that means, and all this was made so naturally at the time. Like it seemed to be so easy. We were in studio. Okay, I'm putting this sound, okay, like this. Okay, it's good, let's do it. And he was so relaxed, but I realized he was so good because I remember we didn't do a lot of takes, we just did the sound. He was playing a little bit, okay, let's do it. And he was right into it. So that's I think what could explain this kind. And also we were very, especially at the beginning, also very intuitively going to a sound, because I was looking for a sound. I was doing a bass sound or whatever, and then I was turning the knobs, and suddenly I felt, oh, that's not bad, and I could hear Marc and Michel. Ah, that's great. Okay, let's do it like this. So it was a kind of nice osmosis between us three that gave it, and it seems so natural. It's only after that we realize that oh, between brackets, good it was, because we only also had very few tracks, so every sound really had to be perfectly in its place, and so that could also explain the feeling that it was. It seems simple, but it is simple, but it's also not.
It's not simple. No, it's not. It's sophisticated.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
The hardest thing as a producer who's produced in every style imaginable, the hardest thing is to reduce things to its most essential forms.
Exactly.
So I know we had the restrictions. We were the same as you. We only had an 8-track tape machine at that. And it turned out to be of benefit to the sound.
Right.
However, later, of course, when you got 72 tracks or an infinite tracks now on digital media workstation, the problem is always controlling your impulses to add.
Exactly.
As you get more experienced, you end up distilling. It's like cooking. You're reducing the sauce to the essential flavor. And I think your tracks are so full of, if you use the same metaphor, so full of flavor.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the flavor of the songwriting and the dry wit of the lyric writing and the performance, vocal performance, but of the actual raw sounds that were designed.
Yes.
They're beautiful. And I'm not just saying that because you're here.
Mm-hmm.
They are. I know the effort that goes into making those things, and not only that, the taste it takes to select the right sounds and design the right sounds. Because when we were starting with the Human League, every single thing we made, kick drum, snare, hi-hat, everything, was made from scratch on in fact, that machine there, the System 100. Right.
I have exactly the same.
And I think the System 100 still for me is the best sounding machine that I've ever used. But we never used the Moogs. You see, we couldn't afford that stuff. You're obviously much richer than us. You were.
No, I'm lucky to make this hit with Coconut. So I said, let's invest, not give this money away to the tax.
Yeah. So the who would you say are your?
Can I?
Yes, sorry. Carry on. Yeah.
Because it's what we made new mixes for maybe 60 tracks, so exactly for the same reason, because we felt that there were some tracks that were not necessary, so that were a bit ruining the groove. So that was mainly the work now for the
Who's this?
Amplified.
So we took some. We didn't add anything, but we took something.
Interesting. Well, I was talking to. I did a podcast with Nile Rodgers recently, and one of the things he said, which he's mentioned before, it's not a new thing, but the funk is in the spaces between the notes. And actually, Bootsy Collins said the same thing when I interviewed him as well. It's not necessarily the notes you play; it's the spaces you leave in between, which allow the notes to breathe and syncopate. Yeah, move around each other. Now, I want to talk to you about the influence that you guys had on kind of Detroit techno, really, because I remember when this was first emerging from the scene, they quoted various bands as being influences, including Tubeway Army, Heaven 17, and you were one of the bands that they quoted as well, and Kraftwerk, of course. And were you aware of that at the time?
No, and
At the time, not really, no.
it's funny because we had some interview at the Belgian radio, and for the first time, the guy let us listen to one song, which is it's called Charivari, and it's really like
Let's go disco.
even if we knew that, and we are on a compilation of Detroit techno music,
Yes,
we didn't really. We did, and so that maybe 5 days ago, it was really.
this track was really inspired by Moscow disco. Yes, another melody, but really you could hear the influence of the sequence and everything, and the chords
And the timing of the voice.
Yes, exactly.
But the thing is, what is interesting is, I mean, house emerged from this as well, and house is now ubiquitous everywhere, and hip hop as well, and the thing that was the synthesis between black dance music and the pure crystalline, accurate syncopation of things like Kraftwerk and your work, and the stuff, some of the stuff we were doing, and Gary Newman and blah blah blah. That's where the magic is, in that little kind of, if it's two Venn diagrams, it's in that bit in the middle there, and that's what they were capitalizing on, because you can have all the looseness of blues and funk and everything, and that's beautiful, and that's its own thing, and it's a massive world. But when you have something, what they were always searching for is drummers that could play completely straight and accurate. Yes. Always. It's what I was looking for when I was using real drummers to play funk arrangements. All of a sudden, you could do it, with sequences and then drum machines, and so the thing that held it all together in the middle was this kind of central structure. If you think about architecture, it's the central structure of that big concrete post, and then you can syncopate. You can syncopate around that and do all that, and that's where the funk is, in the gaps there. Yes. And I think that's what you guys did beautifully. You did some great kind of melodic slow songs too. It wasn't all dance, but your dance. Your records played on a disco system in a nightclub are as good, if not better, than Kraftwerk's in that same situation, in my view.
I think it comes also from Mark and the way he would groove bass and with chords sometimes, and I think that's probably a main difference between Telex and Kraftwerk.
Right.
It's the way Mark could groove. Yes, and not using the machines for that. I think it comes from that.
Yeah, and when Mark sadly passed away, and you stopped doing Telex, is that right? At that point,
we stopped just before. In fact, yes.
Right.
In fact, in the 90s, we gathered from time to time to see if we could do something together. And finally, after one song, we would stop because we didn't think we could go further. And that gave the Dear Prudence and the beat goes off there. But finally, in 80, which 15 years ago, in fact, Virgin England asked us to do something. Then Virgin was bought by EMI, and then EMI, it was just EMI Belgium. So we did something at that time, and probably it was. We have a new mix now, and I do love the album now. But at that time, maybe it was more like an X-ray of music than the music when you did it.
Right.
So that we stopped, of course.
Okay, and but you're back.
Only two.
You are back. There's no keeping you down, right? So, the great Daniel Miller. Yeah, you're signed to Mute now, right? And tell us what's happening with Mute at the moment, then.
So they launched a record called "This Is Telex," just like show who we are. I mean, it's like 2 songs of each album. We made 6 albums, and 2 unreleased tracks, and it's announcing the release of all the albums normally at the end of the year.
Remixed, remastered.
Yes, we new mix around 60 tracks.
60 tracks, yes.
And everything.
And remaster everything, yes.
Have you ever done got any interest in surround sound mixers?
We could, but how can we? How can you sell that? I mean,
I know.
You know, that's a problem. Yes, I like, because I did some just for fun in the studio. Like I even once did a surround mix of Moscow disco with, of course, the train turning. Going back in the back and so on. Yeah, of course it could be interesting, but no. Here the idea was to firstly to start from the original tapes, to redigitalize everything, because the converters, everything, as you know, is much better now, especially the clocking. I use atomic clock. I don't know if you know this one.
No, I don't know.
Fantastic. It keeps everything like analog in digital. So, and we wanted to remix at least 2 albums, like the last one, but mainly the Sex album, because when we re-listened to everything, we thought we could do better. So it started like that, and since it worked so well, we were so satisfied, Michel and I, so we decided to re-listen to really everything, even the first albums, and say every track, is it good enough? Do we remix? Is it good? And so finally we remixed almost half of it, so 60 tracks. I think it's a bit.
Wow.
It's about half of the tracks, and of course the challenge was to keep the same spirit as the original one.
Yes.
To improve, in fact, not to be too clean or whatever. So we always kept the original mix as a reference. I copied it in the Pro Tour session, and we were listening during the mix. Are we on the right way? Is it good? And we inspired about what was good in the old mix, and we could. And so we really did
But it's
that.
like enhanced Telex reality.
And in fact, when it came to the mastering stage, everything was so the tracks that we mixed again and the original ones were so close to each other that finally, sometimes I didn't know myself. I asked Michel, did we remix this one? Oh yes, or no, that's the original one. So I think everything is much more fits together. It fits together through the 6 albums. So I think that was the idea, and I think it's really I think we succeeded in that.
Is it out now?
Only 12 tracks.
Yes.
Right. But when's the full thing going to be out?
Well, then at the end of the year.
Normally, yes.
Yeah.
It would be a box with all 6 albums.
Well,
that's the original project.
to my podcast listeners, I encourage you all to go out and buy every single fucking thing these guys do, number one, but also these new versions, because I know that, firstly, you know what you're talking about in terms of production and the sound of things, but, we need to support record labels like Mute, because they're supporting this industry in a very significant way, and particularly electronic music. They've got.
We're so proud to be on Mute. Of course, it's really like a dream come true, because when we thought which level would be the best, we immediately thought, well, Mute. Okay, let's ask. So Michel sent an email, And the next day we had a yes reply, so this was fantastic.
Have you been to Daniel's studio?
No.
No,
Oh, you got you got can I part of your deal.
I have seen I have seen it with he did a interview from Spark documentary. You know that one?
Yeah.
So I saw his famous Synthi 100 that he's got in his studio. His modular. Yeah, I could see a lot in this.
I'm very envious of this Synthi 100. I have to say.
Yeah, must be incredible.
Yeah, I really like that. You know, he's a very. I mean, the Normal were fantastic, weren't they? I mean, Warm Leatherette is a great record, and you know all that stuff, Silicon Teens and stuff. But I mean, you guys are like you're like three peas in a pod, right? So I mean, the stuff that you create is quite similar in some ways to some of the Normals and Daniel's work. So I can understand why he'd be so keen to work.
He's probably more direct and aggressive and rough than we are. Or
Yeah.
we were.
True, that's true. But he did some witty stuff as well, and with teens, and you know what. Now I'm always arguing with him because he keeps going. You know, I remember about 10 years ago, he said to me, "Electro will never die. You know, electro is the future. German electro." I'm going, "Oh, really, really?" Because he DJs all that stuff in Berlin, and it's a bit too hardcore for my taste. You know, I don't like aggressive music. I like melodic and gentle stuff.
But you know that electronic came and went out for. I mean, it was like a sinusoid. Now it's there. You can escape. But many times Unplugged came back.
Yeah.
So it was not like that easy to come with electronic things.
No. I think it's funny because occasionally we get people on TV shows or radio shows saying, "Will Hem 17 do an Unplugged session?" And we say, "Well, that's going to be pretty quiet." It's not. So anyway, next is I wanted to talk to you about the mystery of being a kind of studio band, really, and avoiding performing live, performing on videos, maybe in TV shows, because it's exactly what we did for like 17 years. And then in the 90s, we decided to start performing live, and now we love it, of course, but that's a different thing. Tell me about, were you happy to be mysterious?
There were different reasons, in fact. As we were three people coming from different genres here in Belgium. We were hiding ourselves. So not to be
The beginning, yes.
Yes, at the beginning. After
Why were you hiding yourselves?
so that people wouldn't have preconceptual ideas about
Mark label on us too.
than electronic and me from folk. So it's a small country, so the ideas and that's it. But we had to stop that because there were terrorists in Germany, and we finally had to show our faces. But also, we thought music was more important than us, and we had a few years more than you when you started. So
Yeah.
we didn't think that young people could project themselves in us as idols or things like that, or
Yes.
that's it.
Or also, it would have been so difficult technically because, of course, it's not always possible. But in the studio, you can overdub things, blah blah. And so, but live, either you have to cheat. Well, now everybody's cheating, of course, with a USB key, so on. But at this time, it was not so well considered. So we would have either it was too. And we're not. I mean, personally, I'm not a stage beast, so I prefer my studio. You know, I like make sounds, and I had my own work with in studio and Marc and Michel also. So it was a bit like it was not our first job. You know, it was
yes.
music we did together, well, seriously. And then when we work on an album, we spend weeks in the studio and so. But when the album was finished, okay, we were doing a little bit of promotion clips. It was on the air, and then we could continue
Our jobs. Yeah.
our jobs and so on. So it was a bit different. And of course, we were admiring Kraftwerk, who was doing so live, because this was so incredible. They took the studio live and they did it. So this was like so incredible, and all the groups that were doing live stuff. So it was not funny for us enough to make live. So
Yeah. A lot of people who, a lot of people who, if we were developing our career now, it'd be very difficult not to perform live, because that
I know.
you wouldn't make any money. I mean, the problem with Spotify, unless you keep control of your own intellectual property, it's very hard to make money from Spotify or the stream.
But also now it's so easy. You can go on stage with a laptop and nobody will complain. And you, even if you just do some vocal and one keyboard, nobody would complain. I did it myself a few years ago, and I just had another keyboard player, myself, and my daughter doing some vocals. And I was playing the Pro Tool sessions and just taking off some tracks, playing live, and nobody was complaining.
I'm amazed to see people in front of DJs doing like that.
Yes.
They dance, but there's nothing to see, right?
DJ is so strange because, you know, to put the USB key and to do like this.
Oh, just mental, I know.
It's incredible, but...
Do you guys DJ at all? Did you DJ back in the day?
No. I did it once, but I felt like a crook, you know. I felt very uncomfortable.
Right.
I was just playing records with another guy, and I don't know. I was what am I doing here? I mean, I'm just playing some fucking records for some people. I don't see. I don't understand. It's not funny. I mean, I don't like. So
funny.
No.
So tell us about your friendship with Sparks.
Well, it was, in fact, the first meeting was because I produced a Belgian girl called Leo with Marc, you know, in 1979, yes. And it was it was a big hit, this first single, so we did an album, and she was doing a lot of promotion. And once in France, she met Sparks on one TV program. And Russell spoke with her, and he said to her, why don't you do an English version? What about? And she said, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. So they say, okay, we come. But she said, I'm living in Brussels. So they say, okay, but we come, no problem. And we come with the English lyrics, and we record the English version. And so they did. They came in Brussels, but Leo never came because she was like, you would say today, she was in complete burnout. She had so many. So the Sparks were in Brussels, and we were working on the Sex album with Telex. So we met each other, and then they proposed if they could make some lyrics. Michel, am I right? If they could.
I had made, the music was ready, and
yes,
made some almost well, French lyrics, but it was
Yes.
not finished. So they many ideas come from that,
Voilà.
and they did everything in English.
And then they
fast. With
they made the
potential.
lyrics, and they came every day in the studio especially to coach Michel also. And so that was the first meeting. And then
When it comes to Brussels now,
they like Brussels a lot because they were living in the south of Brussels, and the studio is more in the north. So every day they took the tramway, to come to the studio, and people would recognize them and they would say hello. And so it was really funny. And in the beginning, we were very impressed, to work with Spart. So it was a bit tense. And it was springtime. And the studio where I'm here, it's my house, but now it's not the studio anymore. But the control room has a big window from the street, so it's not well isolated, so you can hear the sound from the street. And there was an ice cream bar, with a music, a music box. Yeah. And so suddenly Ron was in this corner there. It's great. And then suddenly he stand up and he walked to the window saying, calling me. And so we said, but what is he saying? And then he explained that when he was young, he used to work as a ice cream. When he came to the no-go zones, in LA with the little kids, dangerous zone, the little kids were only thinking to take his money. So he said, that's why I developed my scary, my mean look, like the little.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Great.
from there, it was very relaxed between us, and it was great to have them here, and so relaxed that they came back to record 2 albums in my studio. So a bit later, so this was great. We kept every day to go to eat together, and so we started a good relationship, particularly with Mark. Ron and Mark were writing each other very often, and but all of us, of course.
They're very nice people. I've met them a couple of times, and
Yes.
I'm going to try and get them on the podcast because I think, the stories they must have. Because they've never stopped, have they? They haven't stopped.
No. They have a film going in Cannes, opening Cannes, I hope.
Yes, the documentary, yeah.
No. They well, there is a documentary, but they wrote a scenario and the music for a new film by a French director, Léos Carax.
Right.
The film is called Annette, and it's going to open Cannes at the next Cannes festival.
Amazing.
Yes, it is. They
They-
never stop.
They never stop.
They are planning a new tour also, because they will
I
pass
think-
in Brussels. They make a stop in Brussels for a few days.
Wow. Well, we're coming towards the end. It has been fascinating. What a lovely opportunity to meet you guys at last after all these years. So I do this kind of pop magazine type questions, stupid questions. So everybody's answered them. What's your favourite film? We'll start with Michel. Michel first.
I thought you would ask what your favorite color. Sorry.
Oh, no. Well, no, that's the one I'm not asking.
My favorite film is probably the first idea is Amores Perros, the Dogs Love, like Iñárritu, a Mexican.
Oh, Innovators, yeah. The guy who did,
21 grams and things like that. But
yeah.
his first film is Amores Perros, Love by Dogs or something like that.
I've never seen it. Is it really good?
It's amazing. It's violent, but it's amazing.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
I don't know the title exactly in English.
Yeah. No. Dan?
Well, I'm just thinking because there's so many, but it's difficult to say one like this. If it's an old one or a new one, or well, I don't know. I have to.
It didn't have to be definitive. Just one.
No. Well, it's maybe strange, but maybe the least famous Spielberg film, which is 1941. Don't know if you saw this.
Really, I did see it, and it got absolutely destroyed by the critics.
Completely crazy, and it was a complete flop. It's so incredible with the Japanese invading the States. And there is one scene, the Japanese guy, he comes, he steals a big radio, and he comes back to the submarine, and he tries to put the radio into the submarine, but it's too big. Then he looks to the camera and he says, "It is really time that we invent miniaturization." This kind of humor is incredible.
Yeah, it's very good.
And it's all the way like this.
Yeah.
Remember
Okay. Your other, I'll start with you this time, Dan.
Yes.
Your any other musical artist or favorite musical artist or composer? Not yourselves. I'd say yourself.
No, of course. Well, I will be very conventional, but Paul McCartney probably, because he's also always, even if it's his last album, I'm not so fan of it. Contrary or many people, the very last one he did. But I think he's also so, and I saw him live several times, and every time I don't want to go, but it's my daughter who books me a ticket, and I say, okay, I've seen him, but he's so incredible, so full of energy, and it's every time so good. So probably him.
Okay. Michel?
I would say Prince.
Yes.
You were talking about few tracks, and with 3 tracks, this guy was incredible. I mean, and also melodies, words, performance, the person. Yeah,
I think he revolutionized what we know as contemporary pop music. I mean, I remember when Kiss came out, and it was first played on commercial radio in the UK, and it was a big national station, I think. And the DJ was offended by the track. He said, "This is a disgrace. It sounds like a demo."
Yes, but it is.
But it does sound like a demo, but he's better for that.
Because I know I have a story about a friend who was DJ, and once he played this in a club, and he said, "Listen, in this track, the snare drum is bigger and fatter than the kick, so it's so strange, and it's absolutely dry, so it sounds twice as loud as anything else." And the story is that at this time he had a lot of people working for him, and he would ask a lot of guys to make a mix, but to spend not more than 1 hour. And so they would do
Wow.
of the track, and then he would pick up one of the mix, and that's how he picked up the mix of Kiss. It's one of the guys who really did.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Something I heard, yes.
Wow.
He had trainees in his studio, and they made mix very quick for him. So
That's incredible.
big one.
And it makes sense to me that.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, starting with Dan. Visual or conceptual artist?
Well, Kraftwerk.
No, visual.
Visual.
I suppose you could call them.
Can you see the video?
I don't mean in music. I mean like
Okay, sorry.
like Monet or something.
Okay. Visual artist.
Or that's why I say conceptual, because it could be something more immersive or just an ideas guy.
Yes.
Maybe you don't think visually.
Well, I try to think of, because I see so many things, on on the internet, but sometimes I don't know the name of the guy, so I don't see like this. Sometimes I see very good things, but
Okay, I can start.
All right, you start.
I have no name.
Maybe it's a cliche, but I think Picasso is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course, man.
He was well, in music there was Miles Davis who changes every time, but Picasso was a great artist, thinker. Maybe not good with women, I don't know, but
Apparently not.
as an artist, I really, yeah.
He I did a big show at the National Portrait Gallery in London, where they had a late night show, and they asked me to put together a whole bunch of artists together to interpret this special exhibition of Picasso portraits into sound. So we gave each artist a Picasso portrait, and they did a version of it in sound, in immersive 3-dimensional sound. It was amazing, and
you have any trace of that?
oh yeah, we've got some of that stuff. I'll send you some stuff. And it's really 7,500 people turned up. They had to close the doors, and we had DJs playing music that he was influenced by. I also had a famous British comedian called John Shuttleworth who was reading out. Did you know that Picasso took 2 years off from painting to be a poet and a playwright? Yep, he did. Yeah, and he wrote a play. His only play he wrote was called "Desire Caught by the Tail," and it's known in the theatrical world as being, because of the stage directions, impossible to stage, because all the stage directions are like surrealist instructions, you know. Anyway, you should look it up. It's quite incredible. I mean, because he did basically what he was doing visually on canvas in words as well. And it's worth
I didn't know that. But if you can think about sending me
I will. I'll send you the soundscape stuff that we did for the Picasso stuff. Okay. And finally, you'll start with Michel this time. Your favourite synth?
The first one I bought is Casio CZ.
Oh yeah.
The first I really bought.
Your first love?
Because it was the first MIDI one.
Yeah. Cool.
So
okay, Dan.
It's like a toy, you know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Dan.
Well, it's difficult to pick up one, of course, but if I would have to pick one, it would be, even if I have a lot of Moers, but it would be the OB6.
Really?
Polyphony. It's incredible. This instrument is like, it's so inspiring. Every sound you make inspires you for a new track, because there's something in the sound. It's really analog. And it's the meeting between the two geniuses, like Tom Oberheim and the guy from Dave Smith. So the design and the way it's done, it's really... Every time I start a new track or whatever, I start with it and I go... It inspires me, really. And of course, the Moers and so on. But if I would choose one, it's really... the OB6.
Right, cool. Have you messed around with the Teenage Engineering synthesizers?
Which one?
Teenage Engineering.
No, I don't know.
Oh, you should check out go to their website and have a look at the OP1. It's the most incredible machine. I'll just show you. One sec. It looks like a toy. Yeah. They cost about €1,000, but
the model also. Yeah, I've heard about it.
It's absolutely incredible.
There was someone who had one.
We have a Japanese fan who made a cover of Moscow Disco with that.
Yes. Oh, yes.
You can pretty much do anything with this shit. Honestly, it's incredible. It's even got a tape manipulation simulator. It's got a vinyl simulator.
Yes.
So I mean, for instance, if you can see the graphic there, you can la la la, and then you can turn things around. You can change the speed of things. Hold on. And anyway, it does a billion things, and it's beautiful, and it's got lots of exciting and ironically dry graphics and stuff, you know. And I really I know you'd love it. That's why I mentioned it.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Cool, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time. Please, listeners, go out and buy the new reissues of the Telex material. You will never regret it. It's top quality stuff. And well, a pleasure to meet you. Hopefully we'll meet in the flesh soon.
Yes, I hope.
And when you're over, maybe in London, promoting, you should email me, and I'd love to meet you.
Okay,
Right.
great.
All right, guys.
Thank you for all the nice things.
Oh, no. I mean it. I wouldn't say it otherwise. Just keep my mouth shut. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'll see you soon. Good luck with everything.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.